After the reading, I made Seth drop me off at the Lou's instead of at my father's, so Dad and Amy wouldn't have a chance to invite him to dinner again. "Hot date?" asked Samantha as he drove away. I made a face. "No, thank God. A book reading, and Miss Nettleton was there." "You could let him know you don't like him, you know." "I know, but he's a decent guy, and I don't want to hurt his feelings." Sam rolled her eyes. "Well, you're going to be mad when you see who you just missed." "What do you mean?" "You had a visitor. Ask your father." Dad looked up when I came in. "Was that Seth's car? Why didn't you invite him in?" "He had to get back." "Oh, too bad. He could have stayed to dinner. Oh, before I forget, a friend of yours came by looking for you. Grant, or something like that. I told him you were out with your boyfriend, so he gave me this for you. He said you left it at school." Dad handed me my script. My first impulse was to email Parr and deny everything. But what would I say? Dad's wrong, Seth isn't my boyfriend, it's you I like, but so does Ashley, and therefore my lips are forever sealed? I had to content myself with kicking the fluffy pillows Amy had made for my new bed and tearing the flyer from the reading into 1,000 pieces. My mother quit her job at the Knick-Knack barn and started at Forefield 2 days later. She went whistling around the house, mostly songs from the play. I was glad to see her happy again. Because there was so little time left before Insomnia opened, she scrapped Mr. Hatchick's elaborate designs and replaced them with simple colored backdrops. Slate gray and white for the lab, institutional yellow for the classroom, leaf green for the magical forest. She worked with the fourth form painting squad as well as Mark, the lighting designer, and his team of techies to create an atmosphere of enchantment using colored scrims, screens that could look opaque or transparent depending on how the light hit them. I may be biased, but I thought her designs were much more effective than Mr. Hatchick's fussy backdrops. And I wasn't the only one who approved. Everyone in the production liked Mom, especially little Alcott Fish, who developed a crush on her that made him turn pink and squeak whenever she was nearby. Ashley and I laughed about it privately, but we were careful never to let him see that we'd noticed. There was one disadvantage to having Mom around, though. No more hanging out with the guys while we waited to be picked up. Mom drove us home as soon as rehearsal ended. I hardly ever got a chance to talk to Parr, and never in private. Not that he seemed eager to talk to me now. In a whirl of impersonal activity, I watched what I feared might be my last precious hours in his company drain away. That Tuesday, my stepmother arrived a little earlier than usual to pick me up. She and my mother exchanged words of chilly politeness. "What was Helen doing there?" asked Amy as we drove away. "Didn't she remember it was Tuesday?" I explained that Mom had a job at Forefield. "How nice! I was wondering when she was going to get around to getting a real job. I hope she's planning to tell your father soon. I think their settlement requires her to inform him within 60 days of any change in income," said Amy. "Of course she is. This is only her 3rd day working there. Has she ever tried to cheat you out of anything that's yours?" Said the irresistible. We drove the rest of the way in silence. After dinner, my father cleared his throat. "Julie, now that you have a boyfriend, there's something Amy and I have to talk to you about," he said. "I know Seth is a trustworthy, reliable young man,
and I hope that we've taught you some responsibility over the years. And of course, you're still very young. If we've done our jobs right, it will be a long time before you need to use this knowledge. However, I feel it's my duty as a physician and a parent, that is, our duty as parents.
Here he gave Amy a saccharine smile, which she returned.
To make sure you understand,
etc., etc., etc. It was, can you believe it, the birth control talk. The fourth one, chronologically speaking. Mom had given me the talk a few years before, when I first got my period, and it had been repeated 2 consecutive years in health and hygiene, the second time with props, including a banana. Mom kept a, you'd better not need these, but just in case you do, box of condoms in what I thought of as the embarrassing corner of the bathroom, updating them when they passed their expiration dates. I checked. Hearing Seth's name coupled with the subject of the talk made it doubly disgusting. I begged the floor to open and swallow me, as I had done so often during this distressful year. However, it had never yet obeyed. Why should it start now? In no time at all, the day of the dress rehearsal arrived. I woke hours early and couldn't get back to sleep. Just one more day, and I would be singing in public. I felt a horrible foreboding, but I dismissed it as stage fright. I slipped on my lucky thumb ring. The first hint that something really was wrong came in homeroom. Yolanda sat in uncharacteristic silence, brushing tears away with her tapered fingers. "Londa?" I said hesitantly, since she seemed almost quiet enough to be Yvette. "What's the matter?" She gave a little yelp and began to cry audibly. I patted her back. "What is it? What's wrong?" "Mom caught Yvette being me." This was serious indeed. In the Gerard household, masquerading as one's sister was a grounding offense. "Oh, no. How long are you down for this time?" 2 whole weeks? Both of us. We'll miss the play." Yvette confirmed the news at lunchtime. "I told you we should have switched the nail polish too," she said bitterly. Yolanda started crying again. "Mom never noticed before," she gulped. "That's 'cause you never wore green before." What would Benjo do? I shuddered to think, but there was no warning him. Forefield boys were forbidden to use cell phones, except during certain evening and weekend hours. Ashley broke the news as soon as we arrived. It took Benjo a while to understand, since he hadn't even known about Yvette's existence, much less her role in his production. As the news sank in, his face grew taut. I watched him pull himself together. He stood up straighter. "Is there anything we can do to convince Yolanda's parents to change their minds?" he asked. "Maybe if Ms. Wilson or the dean or somebody goes and talks to them," said Ashley. "Maybe my mom," I suggested. "She's friendly with Mrs. Gerard." Benjo sent a second former to find the adults in question. "Well, there's nothing else we can do about it today," he said. "Julie, you'll have to take over Tanya for now." "What?" I gasped. "You play Tanya. You know the part, don't you? You help them rehearse. I thought you understood. You're the understudy." "But my part? Who will play Headmistress Little?" "Ned can do it." Benjo," said Ashley. "Ned's a guy. He's a bass."
Well, I know that. He'll have to be headmaster, Little. One thing's for sure, he knows the part. He better. He wrote it. Okay, guys, help me get the cast together so I can make the announcement.
Hard as this may be to believe, it wasn't until Parr said,
"So Julie's going to be Tanya?"
that I realized what my new part meant.